On December 29, 2024, a day for happy holidays, something terrible happened at Muan International Airport in South Korea. A Jeju Air flight coming back from Bangkok crashed, making everyone in the country very sad. This accident reminds us that life is delicate and flying can be unpredictable. It has left the nation in shock and sadness. The plane, a Boeing 737-8AS, had 175 passengers and 6 crew members excited to come home. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation and joy as families and friends looked forward to reuniting. The crew, experienced and professional, were ready to ensure a smooth and safe journey. The aircraft itself, a marvel of modern engineering, stood gleaming on the runway, ready to take to the skies. Little did anyone know, this routine flight would soon turn into a harrowing ordeal that would test the mettle of everyone on board and those on the ground. At 9:03 a.m. Korea time, the plane started to land at Muan. The descent was smooth, and the pilots were in constant communication with the control tower. The weather was clear and visibility was excellent, making it an ideal day for flying. Passengers were beginning to gather their belongings, preparing for the imminent landing. The flight attendants were making their final rounds, ensuring that everyone was seated and buckled up. Everything seemed to be going according to plan, but fate had other ideas. It looks like a bird hit the plane as it was landing. The impact was sudden and jarring, causing the aircraft to shudder. Birds are a known hazard in aviation, and despite numerous measures to mitigate the risk, they remain an unpredictable threat. The bird strike occurred just as the plane was about to touch down, a critical phase of flight where any disruption can have serious consequences. The pilots trained to handle such emergencies quickly assessed the situation, but the damage had already been done. This caused a big problem with the landing gear. The bird strike had damaged the landing gear mechanism, making it impossible to deploy properly. The pilots attempted to troubleshoot the issue, following emergency protocols to try and get the gear down. Alarms blared in the cockpit, and the tension was palpable. The passengers, unaware of the specifics, could sense that something was wrong. The flight attendants, maintaining their composure, reassured everyone that the situation was under control, but the reality was far more dire. People who saw it and recordings from air traffic control tell a scary story. Eyewitnesses on the ground watched in horror as the plane struggled to maintain its approach. The control tower, monitoring the situation closely, provided constant updates and support to the pilots. Recordings from the tower captured the tense exchanges, the urgency in the voices of the controllers, and the calm, yet focused responses from the cockpit. The gravity of the situation was clear to everyone involved, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. The control tower warned the pilots about birds near the runway. This warning came moments before the strike, highlighting the unpredictable nature of bird encounters. Despite the advanced radar and detection systems in place, birds can appear suddenly, leaving little time for evasive action. The pilots acknowledged the warning and prepared for a possible encounter, but the bird strike happened so quickly that there was no time to react. The control tower continued to provide guidance, helping the pilots navigate the unfolding emergency. Then, the pilot said a bird hit the plane and called for help, saying the landing gear wasn't working. The cockpit was a flurry of activity as the pilots worked through their emergency checklists. They communicated their situation to the control tower, requesting immediate assistance. The tower coordinated with emergency services on the ground, preparing for a potential crash landing. The pilots, despite the immense pressure, remained focused and determined to bring the plane down safely. Their training and experience were crucial in these critical moments. The plane went off the runway and crashed into a wall. The impact was devastating, causing significant damage to the aircraft. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, working tirelessly to evacuate the passengers and crew. The aftermath was chaotic, with rescue workers navigating the wreckage to ensure everyone was accounted for. Miraculously, there were no fatalities, but several people sustained injuries. The incident was a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of aviation and the importance of preparedness and quick response in the face of disaster. The crash was terrible. The plane caught fire and many people died. 124 people didn't survive. Men, women, and children were among those who lost their lives. But there was some good news. 2 people, 1 crew member and 1 passenger were rescued. They're in the hospital now and everyone hopes they get better. The country is sad about the people who died. People who saw the crash will never forget it. Videos taken on phones show the plane trying to land without its landing gear. The videos show the crash and the big fire. There was a lot of smoke and the smell of jet fuel. First responders were shouting and people were crying. It was a scary scene with fire, smoke, and broken pieces of the plane. Section 5. A race against time rescue efforts and challenges. Right after the crash, many firefighters rushed to the airport. The scene was chaotic, with flames reaching high into the sky and thick smoke billowing out, making visibility extremely poor. The firefighters, equipped with their gear, moved swiftly to contain the fire and prevent it from spreading further. Their primary goal was to reach any survivors trapped inside the wreckage. The urgency in their actions was palpable, as every second counted in this life-and-death situation. They worked hard to save people from the fire and smoke. The intense heat and the toxic fumes made their task even more challenging. Many of the firefighters had to rotate frequently to avoid exhaustion and smoke inhalation. Despite the overwhelming conditions, their determination never wavered. They used specialized equipment to cut through the debris, searching for any signs of life. The coordination among the rescue teams was crucial, as they communicated constantly to ensure that no area was left unchecked. Helicopters flew overhead, helping and taking injured people to hospitals. These helicopters were equipped with medical personnel who provided immediate care to the injured. The airlift operations were meticulously planned to ensure that the most critically injured were transported first. The sight of helicopters hovering above with rescue workers being lowered down to the crash site was both dramatic and hopeful. It showcased the combined efforts of various agencies working together in this dire situation. Even though help came quickly, it was hard to save people because of the big fire and all the broken plane parts. The debris was scattered over a wide area, making it difficult to navigate. The fire had also weakened many of the structures, posing a risk of collapse. Rescue workers had to be extremely cautious, balancing the need for speed with the necessity of safety. They faced numerous obstacles, from jagged metal pieces to unstable ground, all while trying to locate and assist survivors. It's also been difficult to identify the victims because of the fire, which is very sad for their families. The intense heat had caused severe burns, making visual identification nearly impossible. Forensic teams were brought in to assist with the identification process, using dental records and DNA analysis. The emotional toll on the families waiting for news was immense. Many gathered at the site hoping for a miracle, while others clung to each other for support. The investigators worked tirelessly, not only to identify the victims, but also to determine the cause of the crash, hoping to provide some answers to the grieving families. Section 6. Voices of Sorrow and Accountability, Official Statements. The CEO of Jeju Air was very upset when he spoke to reporters. He said he was very sorry about what happened and took responsibility. He promised to help with the investigation and help the families of the victims. Boeing, the company that made the plane, also said they were sorry and would help with the investigation. They said they care about safety and want to stop this from happening again. Section 7. Echoes of the Past, South Korea's History of Aviation Disasters. Sadly, this isn't the first bad plane crash in South Korea. A Korean air crash in Guam in 1997 killed 228 people. This reminds everyone how dangerous plane crashes can be. These accidents show how important it is to have strong safety rules, good pilot training, and careful airplane maintenance. Section 8. The Importance of Vigilance, Preventing Future Tragedies. The Jeju air crash shows us that we need to make flying safer. We don't know exactly why the crash happened yet, but we need to learn from it. We need better ways to stop birds from hitting planes, better training for pilots in emergencies, and newer safety technology on planes. Everyone who works in aviation needs to work together to make sure this doesn't happen again. Section 9. A Nation Mourns, Seeking Answers. In the wake of the tragic Jeju air crash, the entire nation of South Korea has been plunged into a period of deep mourning. The loss of so many lives has left an indelible mark on the hearts of the people, and the pain is palpable in every corner of the country. Families of the victims have gathered at the memorial site, their faces etched with grief and sorrow. They lay flowers and light candles, creating a sea of flickering lights that symbolize the lives lost. The air is thick with the weight of their loss, and the community has come together to support them in this time of unimaginable pain. Across the nation, vigils are being held, with people holding candles and signs demanding answers. The collective grief has turned into a unified call for justice and transparency. The public is not just mourning, they are seeking the truth about what led to this devastating accident. The demand for answers is growing louder, and the pressure on authorities to provide clarity is immense. The investigation into the crash has just begun. Teams of experts are meticulously examining the crash site, looking for any clues that could explain what went wrong. Officials are holding press conferences, promising a thorough and transparent investigation. They assure the public that every detail will be scrutinized to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. Even after the wreckage has been cleared, the memory of this tragic event lingers. People continue to visit the memorial site, paying their respects and finding solace in the shared grief. The site has become a place of reflection and remembrance, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of safety in aviation. The families of the victims, along with the entire nation, deserve to know the truth about what happened. They seek closure and assurance that such a tragedy will never occur again. The community's resilience and solidarity in the face of this disaster are a testament to their strength. As they mourn, they also hope for a future where such accidents are prevented and the skies are safer for everyone.